Hello and welcome. We are Team Make, Melissa Herrera, Alicia Sanchez, and Catherine Starr, and we present to you a training simulation designed to supplement guided instruction in learning the soft skills required for customer service positions.
We understand how important it is for an organization and their staff to have the resources and tools available to successfully fulfill their role, as well as understand what excellent customer service entails. It means having the ability to be kind while actively listening, interpreting, communicating, and resolving problems. Our simulation setting is based on an influx of new students joining the university, causing the Student Service Center to hire 2 additional staff to assist with the daily operations in a very busy and fast-paced environment. The simulation scenarios focus on specific customer service soft skill traits that employees must learn, understand, perform while on the job. These include interpersonal skills, communication skills, attention to detail, time management, situational awareness, empathy, and friendliness. Having these skills help the employees to build positive and effective relationships with their coworkers and customers. In addition, these skills can increase an employee's confidence in their ability to manage a variety of situations. In our research and preparation for the simulation, we reviewed different elements of customer service and what that looks like in general, as well as identified different topics and scenarios that would best display the various challenges that a customer service representative may encounter. We identified a few observable elements that may assist our design and redesign whenever necessary. The following elements can be measured through data collection and analysis. These include observing poor customer service practices that may require additional attention, lack of motivation, time it takes to complete a ticket, the number of times the ticket is escalated, and lastly, poor customer service ratings.
The performance gap we are addressing in the simulation is new hires' lack of customer service skills. We realize that many student workers do not have the skills to be successful in a customer service environment, and we want them to practice their soft skills and other basic customer service skills.
In Chapter 8 of Carl Kapp's A Gamification of Learning and Instruction, Kapp discusses the question of how gamification can be applied to learning domains. This simulation is designed to primarily convey conceptual knowledge and uses a role-play story with high replayability. What Kapp says about experiencing consequences in Chapter 8 describes quite well what we have tried to design here. Quote, allow the learners to practice applying the rules in situation in which they are timed or where points are kept for correct or incorrect analysis of the rules. A game-based simulation allows the learners the opportunity to apply the rules, and if a game is designed for replayability, it is possible to experience applying the rules in different ways and observing the impact. In these first few slides, the setting is being established, and here the learner is introduced to the purpose of the simulation. The block with the text about the designer objective is not meant to be included. It is a note for collaborators. This convention of putting editorial notes in black boxes is used throughout the storyboard. However, there are some scenes where the black boxes indicate hints that should be displayed to users. Here the learner is becoming more familiar with the story and the interface. The first 2 slides autoplay as a little cutscene. It is here that the learner is presented with the first interactive, the click here to start button. This scene follows the same pattern as the previous slide. The simple interface with the single interactive button, but the information starts being more specific in order to establish the learning objectives. Research indicates that playing as an avatar can increase learner engagement and encourage empathetic learning experience through identifying with a character. Here the player chooses a character, and what follows will be a series of complex branching scenarios. Valeria's branch stories are a bit more difficult than Jake's because she has more relevant work experience. Starting with 2 difficulty levels, each of which goes on to complete 3 scenarios with multiple branching and increasing difficulty, there is a lot of potential for complexity and replayability, an important feature for an educational simulation. Again, the note in the black box is written for the simulation engineer about commands for the user interface. The player is introduced to Vicky, the workplace supervisor, who provides learner support. She begins by introducing players to the user interface while simultaneously providing narrative exposition to set the learner in the story and provide details about the learning objectives. So, for example, here we see the black boxes containing information about how the interface works and introduces a new player button. Here's the new player button. So here, for example, we would hover on Vicky, and that would make this text bubble pop up. And then if we click on her, we'll get this response. And then we get the option yes or no, and then depending on which one we choose, the appropriate response will pop up. Another click on Vicky will yield this response, and then click to continue. Using an NPC, non-playing character, to explain the interface, functions, and tools, as well as the story and objectives, helps immerse learners into the simulation. In this slide is an example of a hint that could appear after a certain period of idle player time has passed to help guide players along. And here again we have this button to remind players to click on Vicky, to hover to get the pop-up, to click to get these 2 pop-ups, and click to continue. Vicky continues to carefully scaffold the instruction so as not to confuse or overwhelm learners. She introduces 2 new elements here and indicates one of the important feedback elements in the simulation, the score display. Each selection the player chooses in the interactive scenes earns a score, with the potential for negative points also, and click to continue. The learner is introduced to a second NPC, non-playing character. The function of needing to activate one interaction before another is introduced here, where Craig can only be triggered to speak after he has been introduced by Vicky, to promote realism and make the simulation more believable and immersive for learners. So here we would come and hover, and Vicky would speak, and until we've triggered this hovering on Craig won't be triggered. He won't say anything until Vicky has spoken. And then we can hover on Craig, his speech bubble comes up, then we can click on Craig, and this bubble comes up. This slide demonstrates how the learner is gradually transitioned to the full top interface of the simulation. Learners are shown where to find help resources, if needed, through asking Vicky or Craig. Players are not explicitly told, but they are expected to pay attention to the score display. And notice that they do not earn as many points if they ask for help before choosing a response to a customer. And it costs more to ask Vicky. Players are expected to have learned that hovering over the characters may trigger them to speak, and clicking on them may activate more speech. Next, we are immediately in the learning environment, and the full interface appears. The player's options for responding to an interaction appear just below the avatar. The gray buttons will each contain a possible response. The buttons themselves may have only 1, 2, or 3 as text displayed, and may be scripted so that a text box appears on a hover over the button. So this might, instead of saying incorrect response here, it would just say 1, 2, 3. You would hover and then get the response, and then clicking would be choosing it. Each response earns a certain amount of points and may trigger a new branch to open, in which case there will not be a click to continue button. In all of these slides, we do have the click to continue button, but you wouldn't need that if one of these were to open up a new branch. In this slide, Craig continues to provide learner support. No penalty is taken for clicking or hovering on him or any character to see if they are triggered to say something. Valeria's response options have not been scripted here, so a subject matter expert could do that and click to continue. Learners are being gradually scaffolded. Craig continues to deliver learner support with his speech bubble that would be activated through a click on him, and a subject matter expert could decide what the introductory conflict would be. The player faces more factors to pay attention to at once, with the phone ringing and a person on a phone approaching the desk. And Craig is giving more learner support, the phone ringing icon, and Valeria is not sure what's going on here. If this person is speaking to her, Craig is reminding her that she needs to answer the phone. Valeria answers the phone, and the woman continues to approach the desk. Craig does not offer any more learning tips. This could be the resolution to a problem or the beginning of a branching scenario. Craig has drifted into the background and is preoccupied on the phone. Craig continues to be preoccupied on the phone. Valeria is working to help determine customer needs and offer the best solutions. Suddenly, Craig announces his departure. This signals the end of the first scenario, the morning, and now Valeria levels up and will be facing more challenging interactions in the next scenario. And when Craig leaves, his button is going to go dark.
The next level in our simulation is labeled as the lunch rush that will occur between 11 and 1 p.m. This in itself can be challenging and intimidating. However, through our training, we want the learners to engage with the simulation to help them assess the best outcomes for the interactions. In addition, through this stage, we remove Craig as an option of people to refer to for guidance, which encourages the learner to utilize critical thinking and problem-solving skills. A few things to note here. 1. You will notice Craig is grayed out, meaning he is unavailable. 2. There is a line of several customers forming. And 3. There are 2 telephone symbols illuminated, meaning that there are 2 incoming calls. You might get the sense that Valeria is in a tough predicament, in that she needs to quickly assess the situation and take action. Here, Valeria is showing a sense of urgency, utilizing critical thinking skills and logic. In this interaction, you may notice that the customer is frustrated about something. Oftentimes, we may encounter customers that are dissatisfied. The important thing to keep in mind is to remain calm, professional, and try to resolve the problem as best as you can. Something to learn from the previous slide that is also displayed on this slide is that Valeria was calm, listened to the customer's concern, resorted to her resources to de-escalate the situation. She used her interpersonal skills to effectively communicate and utilize resources to achieve the best possible outcome. Treating people with empathy and kindness when faced with a difficult situation can change the entire dynamic of the experience. We reiterate that good customer service means staying calm, listening, understanding, and assessing the situation to see how you can best assist the customer. Next, we can see that Valeria is requiring some guidance with the situation. However, Vicky is in a meeting and appears to be slightly agitated. Lastly, in this interaction, we see a combination of communication, critical thinking, resource utilization, and empathy for the customer and their needs. As you can see through these lunch rush scenarios and interactions, the users identify, acknowledge, and resolve more involved challenges.
The behavior outcome of the simulation is to provide a better customer service experience by demonstrating friendliness, empathy, good communication skills, situational awareness, and attention to detail. Some of the constraints of the design include accessibility to computer and or internet, as well as no knowledge of customer service, which makes it difficult for the learner to interact with the content or find any relevancy. We also identified a possible constraint where the learner may be given a small time frame for training. We imagine delivering this simulation through a virtual medium such as an LMS as we envision this to be a traditional simulation. In the last scenarios, which start in the afternoon indicating that the shift is coming to a close, we want the user to put all of their knowledge to the test by removing all learning supports, which in this case are Vicky and Craig. This further reinforces the concept of removing all scaffolds to assess mastery of the content and increase the level of difficulty. The scenarios put the user in situations where they are asking clarifying questions, dealing with in-a-hurry customers, and dealing with upset callers while dealing with end-of-the-day traffic. Once the user is done with the simulation, a screen appears with their final score while Vicky recaps if they are ready to be a part of the team or need to continue practicing their customer service skills. At this point, the user can either close or retry the simulation. Our simulation project is based on the work of So and Moore, who created a simulation based on the work of Robert Shank's goal-based scenarios. We felt that a goal-based scenario was the best way to present our simulation and provide learners with guidance and immediate feedback. It is also based on real-life situations that learners can make connections to and transfer the knowledge of what they learn in the simulation in a real-world setting. Furthermore, we want to ensure the simulation provides instructional supports which Alessi emphasized were important in a simulation. The simulation also acknowledges the work of Esareo, Gowo, and Law, and want to provide learners with 2 of the 3 types of interactivity. We envision the interface to be engaging and authentic, as well as providing a well-structured storyline that includes the objectives of the game, instructions, character choices, introduction, and a variety of decision choices. This simulation does not include social interactivity, as this would require more extensive work and additional SMEs. Furthermore, our simulation design is a pre-scripted, self-paced ranging e-learning module, to quote Cap. As Cap had mentioned, this is the best type of simulation for novice users, which make up the type of learners who will go through the simulation. That concludes our presentation of our simulation. Overall, we had a great time working on this project, and it allowed us to apply what we learned in this course of building an effective simulation that is not only education-based, but also provides opportunities for the learner to be immersed and transfer their knowledge to a real-life situation. We hope that it encourages others to explore something similar.